What's up, guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 2009 Ford Explorer Eddie Bauer edition. Up front is a 4.6 liter V8, and down below is a 6-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this Explorer for two reasons. First of all, I've never driven this generation of Explorer. There's a little bit of a dead spot in Ford's history that I haven't really touched too much on. 2009, 2008, 2010, that sort of era. But the second reason is the fact that this is the final generation of Explorer that was actually body on frame. For the next generation, they switched to unibody, which has certain characteristics that go with either one, and so I'm excited to share them with you. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. But let's get back to that 4.6 liter V8 under the hood. Well, it's known as the modular V8. If you're familiar with Fords of the 2000s, you've heard of or seen this engine. This is known as the 3-valve, so 3 valves per cylinder, making it a 24-valve engine. But for some reason, Ford owners just stick to which number of valves per cylinder. So there's the 2-valve, 3-valve, and 4-valve. This is the 3-valve, and it makes 292 horsepower, which is pretty healthy, especially for a vehicle like this. Now, like I said, paired to it is a 6-speed automatic. It's shifting well. There was no manual option here in this generation of Explorer. However, previous generations could have gotten a manual. This is just the auto, and as you can see, the stick is large and in charge, but actually handling itself pretty well. Last but not least, about the drivetrain, this Explorer is 4-wheel drive, and we'll talk about how to select that a little bit later on. So how does it feel to drive the '09 Explorer? Well, like I mentioned with that body-on-frame setup, it does have a lot harsher of a ride than later Explorers have. That's why they switched to unibody later on, to sort of soften the ride, redo the suspension, because there's only so much you can do with an actual solid frame. That being said, it has a lot more off-road prowess. You can actually lift these and feel comfortable doing so, and you have some more options for durability as opposed to comfort. So sort of the yin and yang that you pick up or lose depending on if you have a frame or not. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have two gauges. Off to the left is my tachometer with coolant in it, and to the right is my speedometer with fuel in it. I do get a little digital readout. This is fine, but this era of Ford, these screens don't last super long, so it's fine. On the steering wheel, on the left, we have our cruise control options, and off to the right, we have our voice, media, seek, volume, and OK. Off to the left, we do have a climate control vent, as well as our headlight switch and gauge dimmer switch. And moving out of the door, we have our power mirrors up top, power windows and power locks down below, as well as this really interesting curved handle for the door to get in and out. Kind of an interesting design choice there. Moving into the center, we do have our radio. We have an MP3 CD player as well as AM and FM. Very basic there. And down below, we have our climate control vents and then a bunch of interesting buttons. So we have info, setup, reset, traction control, and our 4-wheel drive settings for 4 auto, 4 high, and 4 low. Then we have our climate controls, dual zone climate here in '09. Very nice to see that. As well as, of course, fan speed where send and a nice digital readout. Love the look of that. And then we have our memory seat options, pedal adjustment options, and our heated seats. Love to see all of that as well. Interesting placement. Not used to seeing it down here, but very cool. Off to the left, like I said, we have that big chunky shifter. Very, very interesting. But off to the right, we do have cup holders, so we will do a big friggin' bottle test. And unfortunately, yet somewhat predictably, it fails the big friggin' bottle test. Then we do have a little Sync by Microsoft badge, kind of interesting to see that, and a 12-volt outlet. Now, the seats are finished in this tan and black leather, and that's the only notion, really, besides the color combos in here, that this is an Eddie Bauer edition. So back in the 1990s, Eddie Bauer and Ford started working together, and we got the Eddie Bauer Bronco, we got several other Eddie Bauer vehicles, and they were kind of cool. They had the seats, they had the colors, and it was just kind of a nice trim package. Ford has been known to work with designers going back to the 1970s, and so they were a big deal in the 1990s and early 2000s. The Eddie Bauer edition was definitely something that was sought after, especially in middle America. But now in 2009, it was just kind of some colors. It wasn't really that big of a deal. It was kind of past its prime, and this was actually the final Explorer to get the Eddie Bauer edition. So, you know, is kind of dead at this point. But speaking of those tan and black seats, let's hop into the back and do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the second row of the Ford Explorer, and the tan and black leather carries on back here. I really love it when automakers do that. I have cup holders up there. I have 2 climate vents. However, I don't get a center console, but I do have a third row of seats. So let's hop back there. So I always forget that the Explorers are 3-row vehicles, but they are, and I'm in the back. And honestly, I'm not mad at it at all. I actually fit back here decently well. Even with this seat up in its upright position, my knees aren't touching it. It might look that way on camera, but they're not. I actually fit back here, and this is very surprising. Now, getting in and out, which I will not put in the video, a little strenuous. You got to climb over some stuff. I'm not as flexible as I used to be. Not that I ever was, but you know what I mean. I actually fit back here. I have tiny cup holders, and that's it. No amenities, but I fit. I fit! Let's talk about the cargo space. Okay. We're on the back of the Ford Explorer Eddie Bauer, and we do have a trunk popper on the key fob. However, it doesn't have a power tailgate. What it actually opens is the rear glass, which I love, love, love when SUVs do this. I would not buy an SUV that doesn't do this. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Bring that back down, and we do have a big handle for the trunk. It is not a power trunk. However, I left this seat up so you could see what kind of space you get while the seats are up. Not a whole ton, but push that down, and it actually says cargo mode on it. Probably just some industry verbiage, who cares? But with the seats down, you actually have plenty of space, which is really, really nice to see. Very versatile when it comes to the rear seats. I fit back there, but you also get tons of storage. Wonderful. The Explorer is just a lot bigger than its footprint makes it seem, and so that is rather, rather impressive. But overall, that is the rear space of the Ford Explorer Eddie Bauer. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I like the look of this Explorer. I think it has aged decently well. It does look outdated, of course, because it is 2009 and it's 15 years old, which is hard to believe, but I don't think that it's like overly ugly or that you would look at this SUV and go, oh man, remember 2009? That was an era. The car, I think, is actually pretty handsome, and it has just over 100,000 miles, and I think it still looks pretty good. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving this 2009 Ford Explorer? Well, I've really liked my experience. I like the 3-valve V8. I think it works really good. I think for the application, driving around town, I think it's fine. I haven't put it through its paces or driven it through some off-road ruts, so I don't know how it handles that, but I have to assume it does it at least semi-decently. The interesting thing is driving this and then driving a more modern Ford Explorer. They drive completely different. This was made as a sport utility vehicle, and you feel that when driving it around. It's a little bit harsher. It's pointy around the edges. It's a little bit less forgiving. And I think this generation sort of denotes the departure from that feeling, of course, with the frame, but just in mentality, in ethos, in idea. This does feel like an off-road capable vehicle, where the next one feels like a very, very Starbucks capable vehicle. I'm not to say that's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Things change. Emotions and feelings come and go. That's nothing new. But if you want that hardcore off-roader, if you want something that is going to hold up on a trail, you gotta skew a little bit older. And what you gotta skew is towards the 2009 Ford Explorer. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Victor for letting me take out his Ford Explorer. This was kind of a last-minute review. I was in his area when he emailed me, so we were able to set it up, which I was so thankful for. And I appreciate Victor's flexibility. It means a lot, and I appreciate him very, very much. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.